and welcome into this episode of Craze's Corner. We're done with week one. We got to watch some football.
Woo-hoo.
I was personally not too ecstatic about the football that I got to watch being a Panthers fan, but some other teams, I'm sure your fans are a little bit happier than I am. But we got a show today. We're doing two shows. First show is going to be things that we are taking away from week one, so things that we learned, one thing each. And the second show is going to be things that we are not overreacting to. So we saw lots of things in week one. So we're going to talk one thing that we liked, one thing that we're going to take forward with us, and one thing that we're not going to overreact to. It's just one game. So don't pay too close attention to those things. But like I said, this one's going to be things we are taking away. We got Jeff and Will from Media. Thank you for joining me, guys. How are we doing?
Doing all right.
Your teams did a little bit better than my team. Sam Darnold looked good. Jeff, how do you feel about the Seahawks?
The jury's still out. The defense I love. Offense, I was like, come on, fellas. Three safeties. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened before? Has there ever been a game where the team gave up three safeties?
And
I
still,
would assume not.
That was the thing, and still won. So I was just like, that kind of speaks more about the Broncos, I guess.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you get to play Bo Nix. But yeah, your defense definitely looked good. Like we said, we got three things here. I'm going to start us off with one thing I'm taking away. This is a guy I've been high on since he came into the league, and we finally saw it all come together on Sunday night. That's Jameson Williams. He is finally here. I've been holding on to him in all my Dynasty leagues for so long. I can now put him in my starting lineups. He was amazing, 121 on 5 catches, a touchdown. He can also get involved on the ground. So I loved everything we saw from Jameson Williams. His usage was great. And this is what I think we're going to see going forward. I believe that he has now everyone, their entire coaching staff all offseason was talking up Jameson Williams, saying he's finally got it. He's going to be a huge part of our game plans going forward. And that's what we saw. I don't think it's always going to be 120 yards and a touchdown, but I think he's a guy you can confidently play in your flex now every week. And he's got the ability, anytime he touches the ball, it could go for a touchdown. So he brings you that high upside. And I think that now he's got the volume in this offense. He's clearly the wide receiver 2. He outperformed Amon-Ra St. Brown last game. I don't necessarily think that's going to be a week in, week out thing. But, I coming into when he joined, I thought he was a better wide receiver. So I'm extremely ecstatic that I finally got to see that on the field. That was one of the only things that made me happy on Sunday was watching Jameson Williams. It took me about 4 hours from the time the Panthers game ended to kind of accept that. And then I got to watch Jameson Williams ball out on Sunday Night Football. So that was great. Are you guys both in on what you saw from Jameson Williams? You think he's going to have a good role the rest of season?
Yeah, I do. Because I think, honestly, if I was to be concerned about anybody, it is Amon St. Ra. Because now, when you're in that red zone, he's not the threat. There's too many other guys. Now with Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, they're just going to give it to Montgomery as well and let him just pound it in there. So now I'm like, I want the guy that's going to stretch the field and get the downfield work, which is Jameson Williams. So
Amon-Ra's value has always been his volume, and if Jameson Williams is going to start eating into that volume with Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Monty, as you said, on this team, that could definitely hurt his. He was being drafted in the top 5,
right?
So that can definitely hurt his value for sure. Will, you're in on Jameson Williams as well?
Yeah, yeah. My only concern is he's on the injury report this week, which is it's not that he's not going to keep him from playing, but I'm a little bit cautious about injuries with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his upside of all the Lions, honestly, he has the most upside short and long term for fantasy owners.
Yeah. Like I said, love Jameson Williams. Super excited that we saw it finally, and I think that's what we're going to see going forward. Jeff, what was your first takeaway from week one?
My first takeaway is we are at the end of the Mark Andrews era as TE1 in Baltimore. I was watching it last year. Isaiah Likely was proving to be the more youthful receiver. And I mean, basically he's more than just a tight end. He's almost a de facto wide receiver, but what he's done is basically moved into the top target for Lamar now. So, that's basically taken the seat that Mark Andrews has had for a while. He's clearly the first guy that he looks to throw the ball. Zay Jones was chipping into things last year, but likely has just exploded into the guy in that offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Isaiah Likely. I had him as the third target in this offense in my preseason projections. I think that Mark Andrews will be a little bit more involved. You did see it last year where Likely's getting more targets, but Mark Andrews coming off the injury in the car accident. So I think what we saw from Isaiah Likely in that 30-point performance is probably going to be like a 1 or 2 off thing. I think he'll be more involved in the offense. And that's a reason why I wasn't super high on Mark Andrews coming into the season, because this is a run-first offense. So the volume's just not quite there. And like you said, I think it's going to kind of be, we looked at the snap percentages, it was like 73 to the high 60s for Likely. So the snap percentages are pretty close, and they do run a lot of 2 tight ends. So I think it's just going to be inconsistent for both of them this year. But I do like Likely when it comes to Dynasty, because once Andrews is gone, I can't imagine they're going to want to bring him back and pay him money when they have Likely there. So I do like Likely. Is a Ravens pass catcher, just makes me nervous with the volume there. Will, what do you think? Are you in on Isaiah Likely this year? Or?
Yeah, this year I think people have to be careful to not judge a whole season the first week. And
that's your takeaway, right, Will?
That's my takeaway. And I think Likely is an example of it. I think Sam Darnold's I'm a Viking fan, like even Sam Darnold, right? And I think this is the most dangerous week. Between week 1 and week 2 is the most dangerous week for fantasy owners, because we're so caught up, we're so excited that football's back, fantasy's back, our team either did well or bad, and you can make stupid decisions right now. So stick to your plan. If you drafted a certain way, you've been building your dynasty roster or your keepers a certain way, don't overreact right now. And so I think I like Likely, but I'd like to see 2 or 3 weeks of it before I'm all in to say, okay, this is a guy that's actually short and long. Because as Jeff said, if it is consistent, then it is a transition. It's a transition not just for this season.
Right. But that's the thing we got to remember, because I was watching this last season, towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
That guy came over, and that's why I was kind of like, in our Dynasty League, I was like, should I be looking at moving Mark Andrews? Because I'm not sure he is actually going to be the TE1 in the system. And that's the calling card for Lamar. He's got one guy that he usually sticks to. It was Zay Jones for a good part of the early part of the season. And then, this was, of course, after Zay Flowers, sorry. After the Mark Andrews injury. Yeah. And then towards the end of the season, it was Likely. And now we're seeing it, continue into the first game of the season. Yeah. So, I'm just a little skittish.
Yeah. So to Will's point, I think you can, like, a lot of people are going to be overreacting at this point. So you can go and trade for guys that maybe didn't have a great week 1. I'm taking away from Will's point is that the Panthers still have a chance to do something this year.
Yeah.
Because we can't overreact to week 1. I don't believe that, but
look, if we're going to go off week 1, you should be dumping Derrick Henry. You should be trading for Sam Darnold. But is he the value you thought he was going to be?
No, right? I don't think he's what people like. He's pretty much what I thought he was going to be, a touchdown a week, and that's about it. That's what he is.
For the next show.
Yeah, that'll be on the next show. But
look at Caleb Williams. Look at the Bears. All that hype, and I'm not saying he's done. I'm saying I wouldn't make a reaction, especially in Dynasty. You got to be patient, and it's hard, but you got to be patient.
Yeah, stick with what you can take and learn from week 1, but don't just use what you saw in week 1 to make a decision that you might regret next week, as soon as next week when teams have bad games. You see that all the time throughout sports. That's why other sports have 7-game series. Even when you get to the playoffs, you'll have a team that'll put up 80 points, and the next week they'll go put up 120 in basketball, something like that. So teams definitely do have bad weeks. You don't want to take things too seriously. Those were 3 things that we are taking away from week 1. If you want to see 3 things that we are not taking away from week 1, 3 things that we're not being caught up in this overreactions, as Will said, go check out the other show if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, media app coming out. You'll definitely want to get that. We got so much you're going to enjoy, asking all your favorite creators questions and getting them to answer it live for you. Going to be great. Thank you guys for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed.